Today I'm going to talk about who our Square rep might be for DLC characters, if we do get a Square rep for DLC. Vergeben's been saying we will, and he's also been saying that he's heard 7 different names. Well, those 7 names are now known, and that's what I'm going to talk about. It's going to be a speculation video, so I'm not going to talk about, like, data mined information. So if you've been hearing about, like, the data mine and that, you know, people have access to the game right now. I'm not going to be doing spoilers on any of that. This is all going to be speculation and stuff about leakers and what we might be getting for DLC, stuff like that. So there's no real spoilers as far as data mine stuff goes for this video. So if you're avoiding that, this one should be safe. A user over on Smashboards called PolarPanda came out and gave the list of Square characters that Vergeben had heard. We knew Vergeben had heard 7 different Square characters. He had said that publicly, but now PolarPanda has given us that list. Full disclosure, I've talked to PolarPanda before this list came out, and I've also seen this list before it came out. I've seen the same private message that Vergeben sent to someone that PolarPanda saw. That is where he's getting this list of 7 names from, and I was told to keep it, you know, under wraps and confidential. The person who gave it to me, it wasn't PolarPanda who gave it to me, it wasn't Vergeben who gave it to me, it was someone else, and I was told to keep it confidential, so I didn't say anything about it. But yeah, I've seen these names, and I can back up that the private message that PolarPanda is getting these names from is real. I've seen it, so there you go. Now that PolarPanda has leaked the list publicly, I don't mind talking about it in a video. Here's the list. Chrono from Chrono Trigger, 3 Dragon Quest characters, Erdrick, Luminari from Dragon Quest XI, and Slime, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy, Geno from Super Mario RPG, and Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Now let me go over these a little more specifically here. Sephiroth, the Dragon Quest names, and Chrono were said to be more likely. Vergeben's heard them more than the other names. Geno was told to him, and he was told not to take it too seriously. And then Sora was told to him as not being the character, that Sora wasn't going to be the character. So that's the list. Hitagi had kind of implied that Dragon Quest and Chrono were names that were possible Square rep choices, and I had actually heard from other people that Dragon Quest and Chrono were probably who Vergeben had heard. This was before I saw the private message that had all 7 of these names on it, and now PolarPanda has come out and leaked that same 7 name list. So yeah, those do appear to be the Square reps that Vergeben has heard. PolarPanda first leaked this list over in the Geno thread of Smashboards, and while this list was said to not take Geno too seriously, PolarPanda actually has a little bit of evidence towards Geno's inclusion, so that's why they leaked it there first. Basically, their evidence is that they know someone in Nintendo, someone they call a Nintendo ambassador, who supposedly has heard that, at least within Nintendo of America, there's a rumor with, among like low-level Nintendo employees and stuff, that Geno is the Square rep. I had heard this already before PolarPanda had told me about it, and PolarPanda then started talking publicly about this Nintendo ambassador they know, you know, saying that there's a rumor that Geno might happen. And PolarPanda has privately told me a little bit more about the Nintendo ambassador, you know, like who they are and why they, you know, would have access to that sort of information. And it does seem like they'd be the type of person who would at least know about a rumor that might be going around again with like low-level Nintendo employees. I've also heard this same rumor from other people saying, you know, such and such, my dad works at Nintendo kind of thing, and he's heard Geno might be the Square rep, stuff like that. I've had quite a few people actually say that to me. You know, I don't know how credible those people are. Usually it is, again, like a low-level Nintendo type employee that they're saying their information is coming from. And also the Square reps are supposedly something where if, you know, Vergeben's heard 7 names and Square supposedly sends a bunch of names out there, it's possible among Nintendo of America, Geno was the name they were given. Whether or not that's the character that the Square rep's actually going to be, I don't know. It might be a bait-and-switch name. It might not be. Who knows? But there does appear to be this rumor among Nintendo employees that the Square rep's going to be Geno. Of course, another rumor that's going around is that the Square rep is going to be the first DLC character shown off, after Piranha Plant, of course, and the rumor says that it might happen as early as the Video Game Awards, which is the night before Smash's release. It's on December 6th. So it's possible we'll find out who this mysterious Square rep is soon enough. That is, if we're even getting a Square rep. Yet another rumor is that Cloud may have been added very late into Smash Ultimate's development. There's a lot of talk that that was the last character Sakurai was able to get in the game to make sure everyone is here, that Square was really stingy about that for whatever reason. That's entirely possible, but we don't know for sure. But it does appear that there's very little Square stuff in Smash Ultimate from what we've seen. Rice, a pretty credible leaker over on Reset Era, has said that Vergeben doesn't know anything about the DLC. That Vergeben knew some stuff a while ago about the base game, but the stuff about the Square Rep and Minecraft content, whatever else, Rice is saying that that's just all false. Or if it is true, the information Vergeben got isn't right. So that's possible. It's also possible something like if Cloud was added late into development, maybe Vergeben heard about a meeting between Nintendo and Square that happened recently and assumed it was potentially for a DLC character. He seemed unsure of that when Box Theory was first coming out, whether or not the Square Rep would be DLC or not. So it's possible his DLC information is wrong. Again, I hate going against Vergeben because he's been right all the time, but Rice is pretty credible too, so who knows who's right here. We'll have to wait and see. So let's go down each of these names individually and talk about what's going on with those characters. First up is Sora. Vergeben was told Sora was not going to happen, wasn't going to be in the game. That could be true. Disney might actually be really tough to work with. I know people have heard Disney said they'd be okay with Sora and Smash if, Nintendo came to them or whatever, but Nintendo is supposedly working with, Universal to build some sort of theme park. Disney is notoriously difficult to work with, and I know people have, made the argument in favor of Sora, how it could happen and stuff, but let's just say if that's what Vergeben heard, that Sora's not going to happen, it may be because Disney was tough to work with. So next up we got Geno. Obviously Geno is my choice for Square Rep. We do know Geno has a spirit in Smash Ultimate, and there appears to be very little Square stuff in Smash Ultimate, so yeah, that's kind of in favor of him. At the same time, if spirits deconfirm characters, which we don't know for sure yet, but there's a pretty good argument that could be the case, could deconfirm Geno. If it does deconfirm Geno and Vergeben was told not to take Geno too seriously, of course that may count him out. Now PolarPanda is saying they've heard a rumor from this Nintendo ambassador of theirs that Geno is the rumored character from around Nintendo, that's what their Nintendo ambassador has heard. So yeah, that's something in favor of Geno, but once again these names may just be names that are sent out to different branches to trick people, so we don't know who the Square Rep is. Again, Square is notorious for trying to cover up leaks and stuff, and this is kind of how they would do it for Smash. So while I would really like Geno to be the case, I don't know. I don't know if he's likely or not, at least among these names, if we're following who Vergeben thinks it's going to be, or who Vergeben is pointing towards. If Vergeben's information is even correct, obviously Rice is coming out saying it might not be true. Vergeben might not know anything about DLC. So we'll have to wait and see, but that's kind of what's going on with Geno here. So after Geno, we got Chrono. Chrono would probably be my next most wanted character after Geno for Square Reps. I would also like Sora, but I'm a pretty big Chrono Trigger fan. I think it's an amazing game. Chrono was always just one of those characters I never thought could get into Smash, so the possibility of him has never really crossed my mind. He has a similar thing with Geno, they're both, from older Super Nintendo games, maybe not as popular these days or not as well known, so it might be tough to get him in because of that. But it is possible that they got a ton of votes for Goku, and they decided to go with an Akira Toriyama designed character and went with Chrono. Again, Chrono Trigger is a pretty huge JRPG. It's kind of known as possibly the best JRPG. It's definitely up there as a contender for that. So it's possible they would choose Chrono as the Square Rep. So after Chrono, we got 3 Dragon Quest characters. We have Ederic, Luminari, and Slime, all being told. It's possible we'll get a Dragon Quest rep. There's a little bit of tough negotiations to do here. Also with Chrono, there might be some tough negotiations between composers and stuff like that. At least with Geno, we know that the composer for Mario RPG is on board for Smash. Getting Dragon Quest music in the game, getting even Akira Toriyama on board. I don't know how much ownership he has of the characters he's designed. But it might be a little tough. But yeah, Dragon Quest and Chrono and Sephiroth were said to be the ones that Vergeben has heard the most or are the most likely. So Ederic is kind of the classic Dragon Quest protagonist, so it seems pretty likely if they're going to pick a Dragon Quest rep, they might pick him. Luminari is, I guess, a newer Dragon Quest rep that they would maybe pick. It's also possible they do something with I don't know, different costumes, like Olimar has Elf. They could do that with Ederic and Luminari and maybe a bunch of Dragon Quest protagonists, as it kind of changes all the time. And then there's Slime, who's pretty much the face of Dragon Quest, and I'd say would be a tough character to make into a fighter because it doesn't have any arms or anything, but hey, we got Piranha Plant coming, so totally possible it's Slime. That would make sense as a character, you know, to represent the series well, as Slime appears in like all the Dragon Quest games. However, if they're trying to do, again, my theory on, you know, if they got a lot of votes for Goku and they went with, well, let's get at least an Akira Toriyama designed video game character in there to satisfy those fans. Slime, I think he's probably designed by Akira Toriyama, but he doesn't have that Goku look to him, so they might instead go for like Ederic, who has a very Goku look. So last up we have Sephiroth, again a character that Vergeben supposedly heard multiple times, or heard that it was going to be rather likely, along with the Dragon Quest characters and Chrono as being a more likely character to possibly be our Square rep. Sephiroth does have some things going for him. We already have Final Fantasy and Smash, so it would just be a second character there, sort of like Ryu and Ken, you know, that second character for a third-party company. Sephiroth's a very well-known video game character. People really like Sephiroth. You know, I remember back in the day, Sephiroth and Clouds were both pretty much the faces of Final Fantasy VII. A friend of mine drew this poster, the Link fighting Sephiroth. A friend of mine in real life drew that, guy I used to work with, and that's kind of my main reason I want Sephiroth, just to make that image a reality, because I always thought that was a really cool drawing he did. The tough stuff with Sephiroth is him fighting with his Masamune gigantic katana might be kind of difficult. I could see that being a tough moveset to come up with. Just, you know, actually having him fight physically like that might be a little tough in Smash. It's also a little strange that Final Fantasy appears to have very little music, still only the one-stage Cloud. We pretty much just have what we got, you know, from the DLC for Cloud in Smash. Nothing was added. So it would be a little strange to get a DLC pack with Sephiroth, another Final Fantasy VII stage, and some more Final Fantasy VII music when there's already so little in it in Smash. Just seems like something Square was really stingy about. So, you know, having to do a whole other DLC pack to get maybe like 2 more songs, another stage, it just might be a little strange. There's also sort of a hint for Sephiroth. Now, I don't know about hints, as we had like a hint for Rhythm Heaven, we had a hint for, you know, the chairs pointing to Majora's Mask or Skull Kid or something. So it's tough to go off of hints, but in the official Super Smash Bros. Website, if you go to Crom's page, one of his images has him with like, it's like the wing from Palutena's statue, I think, behind him, and it looks like he has one wing, which is, you know, Sephiroth's whole thing. So it's possible that's a hint at Sephiroth. I guess there's also a character from Fire Emblem that has, you know, like one wing like that. So it's probably a reference to that. I don't know Fire Emblem super well. I've played like one of the Game Boy Advance ones, the first one with Lyn. I played a couple on GameCube and never really beat any of them. I played Awakening. So that's pretty much the extent of my Fire Emblem knowledge. So I don't know if that character would be someone they'd reference on like the Smash website like that, or maybe they just thought, hey, it'd be cool if it looks like Grom has this one wing sticking out. So I don't know, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So there you go. Those are the 7 Square characters Vergeben's heard as possible candidates for our Square rep for DLC. It's also possible we don't get a Square rep as DLC. Rice has been saying that whatever Vergeben's heard about DLC isn't true. Just the base roster stuff he had was what was true, and the DLC stuff, nobody knows the DLC stuff. So that's also possible. PolarPanda is saying that, you know, their Nintendo ambassador thinks it's Geno. I'm tentative to get my hopes up for Geno, just because last time I got my hopes up for Geno, it didn't turn out so good. So once again, thank you guys for all the subscribes, all the likes. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so, or like the video, or leave a comment, whatever you want. Until next time, have a good one.